John Carter stood at the observation deck of Lunar Diplomatic Station, his eyes fixed on the massive alien vessel that hung in space like a dark cloud over Earth. The ship was nearly the size of Manhattan, its surface covered in strange patterns that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. "Ambassador, they're requesting to dock," said a voice behind him. John turned to face his assistant, a young man named Kevin Ross, who held a tablet displaying the incoming communication. "Tell them permission." "Granted," John replied. He straightened his blue diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization was about to begin, and the weight of that responsibility pressed on his shoulders. The year was 2157. Humanity had spread throughout the solar system, with colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan. They had even established outposts in the Kuiper Belt. The development of faster-than-light travel was still in its experimental stages, with only 2 successful test flights completed. And now, aliens had arrived. As John walked to the docking bay accompanied by an honor guard of 6 United Earth Defense Force officers, he reviewed what little they knew. The aliens called themselves the Virelians, rulers of the Virelian Empire that spanned hundreds of star systems. They had sent messages ahead, claiming to be peaceful explorers and potential allies. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. John's eyes widened as 3 tall figures stepped through. The Virelians stood nearly 7 feet tall, with slender bodies covered in what appeared to be a natural armor of overlapping plates. Their skin was a pale blue, and their 4 eyes, 2 large ones above 2 smaller ones, blinked in sequence as they surveyed the humans. "Welcome to Earth's Lunar Diplomatic Station," John said, stepping forward with his hands open in a gesture of peace. "I am Ambassador John Carter, representing the United Earth government." The tallest Virelian stepped forward. "I am High Commander Zexitoral of the Virelian Empire. We bring greetings from Emperor Vex Malar, ruler of 300 star systems, and protector of countless species." John noticed the slight twitch in the alien's facial muscles as he spoke. His AI assistant Lisa had been analyzing alien body language based on the limited video transmissions they had received. A small message flashed across his retinal implant. "Possible indication of surprise or confusion." "We are honored by your visit," John said. "We hope this marks the beginning of a peaceful relationship between our peoples." The meeting moved to the diplomatic chamber, a circular room with a large round table. As they sat, John noticed the Virelians examining the human technology with what appeared to be curiosity. "You have achieved much for such a young species," Zexitoral said. "Our scans indicate you have already begun experiments with faster-than-light travel." John nodded. "We have made some progress in that area, yes." Another message flashed across his retinal implant. Elevated stress markers in alien voice patterns. Zextoral's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "Most impressive. Few species develop such technology independently." The meeting continued with exchanges of cultural information. The Virelians described their empire as a benevolent force, bringing protection and advancement to the species under their rule. They offered technological exchange and access to their trade networks. Then, almost casually, Zexitoral mentioned the true purpose of their visit. Of course, as is customary for all protected worlds, Earth would be expected to provide a reasonable tribute to the Empire. John kept his face neutral. "Tribute? A mere 30% of your planetary resources annually," Zexitoral said, as if discussing the weather. "And 10,000 humans each year for service to the Empire." The room fell silent. John felt the eyes of every human in the room on him. "Service?" he asked carefully. "Various roles within the Empire. Labor, research, military service. The specifics are determined based on individual aptitudes." Lisa's message flashed urgently. "Deception indicators at 87%. Contempt markers detected." John leaned forward. "High Commander, while we appreciate your offer of protection, Earth has its own defensive capabilities, and our people are not available for service in the manner you describe." The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The other Virelians stiffened. and Zextoral's face hardened. Perhaps I have not made myself clear, Ambassador. This is not a negotiation. All species under Virelian protection provide tribute. It is the natural order of things. I understand your position, John said calmly. However, I must decline on behalf of Earth. Zextoral stood abruptly. You misunderstand your situation. The Virelian Empire does not request. We inform. Your planet will provide tribute, or it will face consequences. What kind of consequences? John asked, remaining seated. The kind that ended the last 12 species who refused our protection. Zextoral's voice had dropped to a menacing tone. We will return in 1 month. Prepare your first tribute or prepare for obliteration. After the Virelians departed, John immediately called an emergency meeting with Captain Susan Miller of the Earth Defense Force and Dr. Alan Wright, Earth's leading xenobiologist. They're not here for peaceful contact, John said as they gathered in a secure room. They're conquerors looking for new subjects. Susan frowned. Our fleet has only 120 warships. If they have an empire of hundreds of systems, we'd be drastically outnumbered, John finished for her. Dr. Wright studied the scans they had taken of the Virelian ship. Their technology is advanced, but not impossibly so. There might be weaknesses we can exploit. We need more information, John said, pacing the room. Susan, what's the status of our stealth reconnaissance drones? We have 50 ready to deploy, she replied. They could follow the Virelian ship when it leaves, maybe give us some intelligence on their capabilities. John nodded. Do it. Meanwhile, I need to return to Earth and brief the United Earth Council. They're expecting a report on a peaceful first contact. Instead, I'm bringing news of an ultimatum. As John prepared to depart for Earth, he looked once more at the Virelian ship through the station viewport. Humanity had just taken its first steps into a larger galactic community, only to find it ruled by predators. 1 month, he whispered to himself. 1 month to find a way to fight an empire. The shuttle to Earth departed, carrying John and the weight of humanity's future. Behind him, unseen, the first stealth drone slipped away from the lunar station, following the Virelian ship as it prepared to depart the solar system. The clock was ticking, and Earth's very existence hung in the balance. The United Earth Council chamber fell silent as John Carter finished his briefing. 50 representatives from Earth's nations and off-world colonies sat around the circular table, their faces showing various stages of shock, fear, and anger. 30% of our resources and 10,000 people per year, Council President Maria Lopez finally said, breaking the silence. That's not protection, that's slavery. John nodded. Based on the data we gathered and the behavior I observed, I believe the Virelians have done this many times before. They identify developing civilizations, intimidate them with superior technology, and essentially farm them for resources and labor. General Paul Harris, head of Earth's military forces, stood up. Ambassador Carter, what are our chances if we fight? John gestured to Captain Susan Miller, who had accompanied him from the lunar station. Susan stepped forward. Not good, General. Our fleet consists of 120 warships, mostly designed for solar system defense. Based on what we've observed and what the Virelians implied, their empire could field thousands of vessels. Their weapons technology appears to be at least 2 generations ahead of ours. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Then we have no choice but to negotiate, said the representative from the Mars colonies. Perhaps we can offer a smaller tribute. No, John said firmly. The Virelians showed clear signs of deception. I don't believe they have any intention of negotiating fairly, and based on what they said about the last 12 species who refused, I suspect they've destroyed entire civilizations. Before. So you recommend war? President Lopez asked, her voice heavy. I recommend a third option, John replied. We gather intelligence, prepare defenses, and develop strategies for asymmetric warfare. We can't match them ship for ship, but we might find weaknesses to exploit. Dr. Alan Wright, who had been quietly listening, now spoke up. I've been analyzing the scan data from the Virelian ship. There's something interesting about their shield technology. It operates on a frequency modulation that might and I stress, might be vulnerable to precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses. The council debated for hours. Some argued for immediate surrender to save lives. Others pushed for full military mobilization. In the end, they approved John's plan, Operation Trojan Horse. The next day, John met with a small team in a secure underground facility beneath Geneva. The room was filled with holographic displays showing what little they knew about Virelian, technology, and biology. Our plan is simple in concept but difficult in execution, John explained to the assembled specialists. I will return to the Virelians with a small delegation, appearing willing to negotiate terms of surrender. While we keep them talking, we'll gather critical intelligence and search for weaknesses. Patricia Davis, Earth's leading engineer in weapons development, examined the scans of the Virelian ship. If Dr. Wright is right about their shield vulnerability, we might be able to develop EMP weapons that could disable their systems temporarily. Meanwhile, John continued, Earth will prepare for war. We activate all dormant military production facilities, retrofit civilian ships, and develop guerrilla tactics for space warfare. Olivia Martinez, a brilliant linguist who specialized in communication patterns, raised her hand. I've been studying the Virelian language from the recordings. There are subtle variations in their speech that suggest their empire might not be as unified as they claim. Different commanders use slightly different dialectical patterns. John nodded appreciatively. That could be valuable. If there are divisions within their empire, we might exploit them. Over the next 2 weeks, Earth transformed. Old military bases reopened. Shipyards that had been building civilian vessels converted to military production. Training programs ran 24 hours a day, preparing soldiers for potential space and ground combat against an alien force. Susan, now promoted to Admiral Miller to lead Earth's defense forces, developed a new battle doctrine based on hit-and-run tactics. We can't win in direct confrontation, she told her officers, but we can bleed them with 1,000 cuts. John selected his delegation carefully. Olivia for her linguistic skills, Dr. Wright for his scientific expertise, and 3 military officers with intelligence backgrounds disguised as administrative staff. Each member was implanted with quantum entanglement communicators, allowing secure transmission back to Earth regardless of distance. 2 days before the 1-month deadline, John's team prepared to depart from the lunar station. Their ship, the EDS Messenger, was outwardly a diplomatic vessel, but had been secretly modified with enhanced sensors and a hidden weapon system. Admiral Miller met John in the docking bay for a final briefing. The fleet is positioned according to plan, she said quietly. Most ships are hidden in the asteroid belt or in low orbit around the outer planets, powered down to avoid detection. Earth's defense grid has been reconfigured based on Dr. Wright's recommendations. John nodded. And the special projects? Patricia has completed the first prototype EMP weapons. If the shield vulnerability proves real, we'll be ready. John looked at his team, each carrying the weight of humanity's future on their shoulders. Remember, our goal is to buy time and gather intelligence. We appear cooperative but reveal nothing important. Learn everything you can about their fleet movements, command structure, and technology. As they boarded the ship, Olivia touched John's arm. There's something else in the Virelian language patterns I noticed. When they speak about their emperor, there's a subtle tension. I think there might be political instability within their leadership. John smiled grimly. Perfect. Empires built on fear often have cracks in their foundations. The EDS Messenger departed lunar station, heading for the designated rendezvous point just beyond Mars orbit where the Virelians had agreed to meet. From space, Earth looked peaceful, its blue oceans and white clouds giving no hint of the frantic preparations taking place on its surface and in orbit. As they approached the rendezvous point, a massive Virelian warship appeared, dropping out, a faster-than-light travel in a flash of blue energy. It dwarfed the human vessel, its weapons ports clearly visible along its hull. Open a channel, John instructed. When the communication system activated, he spoke with carefully rehearsed humility. This is Ambassador John Carter of Earth. We have come to discuss the terms of Earth's contribution to the Varelian Empire. High Commander Zex Toral's face appeared on the screen, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. A wise decision, Ambassador. Prepare to dock with our vessel. As the human ship moved toward the massive alien warship, John exchanged glances with his team. Phase 1 of Operation Trojan Horse had begun. The next few days would determine whether humanity would face extinction or find a way to defy an empire. The inside of the Varelian ship was cold and dimly lit. John and his team followed their alien escorts through corridors that seemed to stretch for miles. The walls were covered with strange symbols that glowed faintly, and the air had a metallic smell that made breathing uncomfortable. "The negotiation chamber is prepared," said Zex Toral, leading them into a large room with a table made of some black material that seemed to absorb light. "We are pleased that Earth has chosen the path of wisdom." John nodded respectfully. "We wish to understand exactly what is expected of us. The details were somewhat unclear during our first meeting." Zex Toral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "It is simple. You will provide 30% of all planetary resources annually. This includes metals, minerals, water, and biological materials. You will also provide 10,000 humans each year for service to the Empire." "And what exactly does this service entail?" John asked, as Dr. Wright discreetly activated a scanner hidden in his watch. "Various roles," Zex Toral replied vaguely. "Some will serve in labor positions. Others with suitable intelligence will assist with research or administrative duties." John noticed Olivia watching the other Varelians in the room, her eyes narrowing slightly as she studied their reactions. She gave him an almost imperceptible nod, confirming she was gathering linguistic data. "I see," John said. "And for how long? Do these servants provide service?" "The standard term is 20 of your Earth years," Zex Toral said casually, "though many find they prefer to remain in Imperial service after their term concludes." John doubted that very much. "And what protection does Earth receive in exchange for this tribute?" For the next 3 hours, John asked detailed questions about every aspect of the tribute arrangement. Each question was designed to extract specific information about Varelian operations, fleet movements, and command structure. The aliens, believing they were simply explaining terms to a defeated species, revealed far more than they realized. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Susan Miller coordinated the placement of Earth's limited fleet. Ships were hidden in asteroid fields, behind moons, and in the atmospheres of gas giants. Some were disguised as mining vessels, while others remained powered down to avoid detection. "The prototype EMP weapons are ready," Patricia Davis reported in a secure bunker beneath Geneva. She pointed to a display showing a small device. "Based on Dr. Wright's data, these should disrupt their shield frequencies for approximately 30 seconds. Not long, but enough time to get conventional weapons through." "How many do we have?" Susan asked. 50 so far. Production is continuing around the clock. We should have 200 by the end of the week." Susan nodded. "It won't be enough if their entire fleet arrives, but it might give us a fighting chance against their initial force." Back on the Varelian ship, John's team was shown to quarters where they would stay during negotiations. Once alone, they activated jammers to prevent eavesdropping. "Their security is lighter than I expected," Dr. Wright said, reviewing data on his tablet. "I've confirmed the shield vulnerability. Their main energy shields operate on a modulating frequency that cycles every 12.7 seconds. If we hit them with an EMP burst calibrated to the exact counter frequency during the reset point, we can create a temporary failure." Olivia had more interesting news. "I've been analyzing their speech patterns and body language. There's definitely tension when they discuss certain parts of their empire. I think they're facing some kind of internal conflict." John considered this information. That could be useful. Now, about these service positions. A chime interrupted him as their door slid open. A Varelian different from the others entered. This one was smaller, with paler skin and what appeared to be scarring around its neck. "I bring refreshments," it said, placing a tray on a table. As it did so, it glanced around nervously, then quickly passed a small object to Dr. Wright. After the Virelian left, Wright examined the object. "It's some kind of data storage device," he said. "Compatible with our systems, surprisingly." They connected it to their secure tablet. The device contained information about the Virelian ship, including detailed schematics and, most valuable of all, the location of the engineering section where shield generators were housed. Why would one of them help us? Olivia wondered. Because not all species in the Empire are willing participants, John realized. That wasn't a Virelian. Look at the physical differences. It's another species entirely. Over the next 2 days, John continued negotiations, requesting increasingly detailed explanations of Imperial protocols and practices. Each conversation revealed more about Virelian weaknesses and strengths. On the 3rd day, Olivia managed to establish communication with their mysterious informant, who identified itself as Krell, a member of the Tralaxian species. The Tralaxians had been conquered 50 years earlier and served as technical specialists for the Virelians. "Empire not as strong as appears," Krell told them during a brief secret meeting in a maintenance corridor. "Many subject species wait for chance to fight. Virelians spread too thin, controlling too many worlds with fear." Krell provided critical technical information about Virelian weapons and communication systems. Most importantly, he revealed that the Virelians were currently fighting rebellions in 2 distant sectors, meaning their fleet was divided. John sent all this information back to Earth using the quantum entanglement communicator. Admiral Miller immediately adjusted her defense plans based on the new intelligence. On the 5th day of negotiations, High Commander Zex Toril grew impatient. "These details can be settled later," he said. "It is time to finalize the agreement. Our tribute collection ships are prepared to escort you back to Earth to begin the collection process." John knew they had pushed the negotiations as far as they could. "Before we return to Earth, I would request that several Virelian cultural advisors accompany us," he said, "to help ease the transition for our people." Zexatoril considered this. "A reasonable request. I will assign 3 advisors to your ship." John smiled politely, hiding his satisfaction. These advisors would actually serve as unwitting hostages, giving Earth's forces a small advantage in the coming confrontation. As they prepared to depart the next day, John met with his team one last time in their quarters. "We've learned everything we can," he said. "Earth has had nearly a month to prepare. Now we return with their tribute collection fleet, but they won't be collecting anything except resistance." Dr. Wright nodded grimly. "I've planted the devices. Krell provided near their main communication array. When activated, they should disrupt ship-to-ship communications for about 10 minutes. And I've identified at least 3 other subject species among their crew," Olivia added, "all showing signs of resentment toward their Virelian masters. This empire has serious weaknesses beneath its intimidating surface." As they boarded their ship to return to Earth, accompanied by 3 Virelian advisors and a fleet of 20 tribute collection vessels, John felt a mix of fear and determination. The Virelians expected to find a submissive planet ready to hand over its resources and people. Instead, they would face humanity's first act of interstellar defiance. Therisio, tribute fleet entered hyperspace, bound for Earth. Operation Trojan Horse was entering its final, most dangerous phase. Earth appeared as a blue jewel against the darkness of space, as the Virelian tribute fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 20 large collection ships, along with 5 warships as escorts, moved into position near the moon. John Carter stood on the bridge of his diplomatic vessel, watching the Virelian commander survey Earth with what could only be described as greed. "A beautiful world," the commander said. "Rich in resources. The Empire will benefit greatly from this addition." John said nothing, keeping his face neutral despite the anger churning inside him. He glanced at his watch. The countdown timer read, 5 minutes until Earth's defense plan Operation Thunderstrike would begin. "We have detected no significant military activity," reported a Virelian officer. "Their fleet appears to be in standard orbital positions." Of course they detected no unusual activity. Most of Earth's fleet was hidden or disguised, following Admiral Susan Miller's careful planning. The ships they could see were merely decoys, older vessels that would play no significant role in the coming battle. Open communication with Earth's government, the commander ordered. A screen activated showing President Maria Lopez in the United Earth Council chamber. She looked appropriately solemn, as they had planned. "Greetings," the Virelian commander said. "We have returned with your ambassador to begin collection of the agreed tribute. Prepare your loading facilities and the first group of service personnel." President. Lopez glanced at John, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "Before we proceed," the president said, "Ambassador Carter has requested to deliver a message to both our peoples." The commander looked surprised, but gestured for John to speak. John stepped forward, facing the communication screen that broadcast to both the Virelian ships and to billions of humans watching across Earth and its colonies. "People of Earth and representatives of the Virelian Empire," John began. "I speak today about the nature of tribute and the price of freedom." The Virelian commander shifted uncomfortably. Throughout history, powerful nations have demanded tribute from the less powerful. They have claimed this is the natural order of things. John's voice grew stronger. "But humanity has learned through painful experience that freedom is our most precious resource, and one we will never surrender." The commander stood suddenly. "What is this? We had an agreement." John turned to face him directly. "No, we did not. You had demands. Now hear our response. Humanity does not pay tribute. We offer only resistance." The phrase, "we offer only resistance," was the signal to launch Operation Thunderstrike. Across the solar system, hidden human ships powered up. The devices Krell had provided activated on the Virelian command ship, disrupting their communications, and most importantly, 50 specially designed EMP weapons launched silently from the dark side of the moon. "Arrest them," the Virelian commander shouted, but it was too late. The EMP weapons reached their targets in seconds, detonating in precisely calibrated bursts. Just as Dr. Wright had predicted, the Virelian shields flickered and failed. The commander stared in shock as warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Shields down. Communications disrupted. Multiple human vessels detected emerging from hiding positions." From behind Mars, from within the rings of Saturn, from the asteroid belt, and from secret bases on the moon, Earth's ships appeared. They were fewer in number than the Virelian fleet, but they had the advantage of surprise and preparation. John and his team had been ready for this moment. They activated hidden devices in their clothing that emitted a localized EMP, disabling the weapons of the Virelians on the bridge. Dr. Wright pulled out a concealed stun weapon and fired at the commander, who collapsed unconscious. "Bridge secured," Dr. Wright reported. "Initiating emergency evacuation protocol." The human diplomatic vessel had been secretly modified. While appearing to be a simple transport, it contained emergency escape pods designed to look like debris if the ship was destroyed. John's team had also placed explosives at key points throughout the vessel. As they hurried to the escape pods, they passed the quarters of the 3 Virelian advisors who had accompanied them. Olivia quickly disabled the door lock, and they led the confused aliens at gunpoint to an escape pod. "What is happening?" demanded one of the Virelians. "A change of plans," John said as they forced the aliens into the pod. "You're now guests of Earth, not advisors." Outside, the battle raged across Earth's orbit. The human ships executed Admiral Miller's carefully planned strategy, attacking in coordinated groups of 3, hitting the Virelian vessels at their weakest points, then retreating before counterattacks could be launched. The EMP weapons had disabled most of the Virelian ship's systems, leaving them struggling to restore power and shields. Earth's vessels used this advantage to target engines and weapon systems with precision strikes. John's team launched their escape pods just as explosives detonated throughout their diplomatic vessel. The ship broke apart, appearing to have been destroyed in the battle. Their pods, disguised as debris, drifted away from the combat zone toward a rendezvous point where the USS Defiant, Earth's newest stealth frigate, waited to retrieve them. From the small viewport of his escape pod, John watched the battle unfold. 3 Virelian warships were already disabled, drifting helplessly. The tribute collection ships, not designed for combat, were attempting to retreat but found themselves targeted by smaller, faster human vessels. Inside the pod's cramped confines, Dr. Wright checked the quantum entanglement communicator. Admiral Miller reports that Operation Thunderstrike is succeeding beyond expectations. 80% of the Varelian fleet has been disabled or destroyed. The remainder are attempting to retreat. John nodded, allowing himself a small moment of relief. And our casualties? 3 ships lost, 7 damaged. Far better than we anticipated. The USS Defiant appeared, its stealth systems deactivating as it approached the escape pods. The sleek black ship was barely visible against the darkness of space, its hull designed to absorb rather than reflect light. Once aboard, John went straight to the command center where he could monitor the final stages of the battle. The Varelian fleet was in disarray, their superior technology neutralized by Earth's carefully planned strategy. "Admiral Miller is hailing us," reported the communications officer. Susan's face appeared on screen, her expression one of cautious triumph. "Ambassador, the tribute fleet has been neutralized. 17 ships captured intact, including 3 warships. The rest have been destroyed or have retreated." "Casualties?" John asked. "Minimal. We lost 5 ships and their crews. About 200 dead or wounded total. It was a remarkably low number for such a decisive victory, but John knew that this was only the beginning. The Varelian Empire would not take this defeat lightly. "We need to move quickly," John said. "Begin analysis of the captured ships immediately. Focus on their navigation systems. We need the coordinates of other Varelian-controlled worlds, especially any where subject species might be willing to join us." Susan nodded. "Already underway. The data cores from the captured command ship are intact. Our tech teams are extracting information now." As the Defiant moved away from Earth toward a secure staging area in the asteroid belt, John looked at his team. They had succeeded beyond their expectations, but all of them knew the truth. They hadn't won a war. They had merely survived the first battle. "Earth is safe for now," John said quietly. "But the Varelian Empire will return, and next time they won't underestimate us." Olivia, who had been debriefing their Varelian prisoners, entered the command center with new information. "The Varelians are already fighting rebellions in 2 sectors. Adding Earth to their list of problems might be more than they can handle, especially if we can contact these other rebellious worlds." For the first time in weeks, John allowed himself to smile. "Then that's exactly what we'll do." 6 months after the Battle of Earth, John Carter stood on the bridge of the Liberty, Earth's newest flagship. The ship had been built using technology reverse-engineered from captured Varelian vessels. Around him, a coalition fleet of 47 ships moved in formation through the darkness of space. Most were Earth vessels, but 11 belonged to the Tralaxians, Zentari, and Alluvians, 3 species that had been enslaved by the Varelians and had joined forces with humanity after being liberated. "We're approaching the nexus point," said Captain Sam Rodriguez. "All ships report ready for FTL jump." John nodded. "Proceed with the operation." The coalition fleet had spent the past half-year striking Varelian supply lines and freeing enslaved worlds rather than engaging in direct confrontation with their main fleet. This hit-and-run strategy, now known as the Miller Doctrine after Admiral Susan, had proven remarkably effective. The Varelian Empire, accustomed to crushing all resistance with overwhelming force, struggled to adapt to an enemy that refused to fight on their terms. Today's mission targeted the largest Varelian supply depot in this sector, a massive space station orbiting a gas giant. The intelligence came from Krell, who had become a valuable ally and now served as the chief liaison between humans and Tralaxians. The fleet dropped out of FTL travel at the edge of the system. Immediately, their sensors detected Varelian patrols. 3 destroyer-class vessels on standard patrol routes, reported the tactical officer. "No indication they've spotted us yet." John turned to Olivia Martinez, now serving as his chief of intelligence. "Status of the jamming technology?" "Ready to deploy," she replied. "Once activated, it should prevent the patrol ships from sending warnings for approximately 15 minutes. That would be enough time. The coalition fleet had perfected the art of rapid strikes, Deploy jammers and proceed with attack formation. Delta, John ordered. The human ships moved forward as the faster, smaller Tralaxian vessels broke off to neutralize the patrol ships. The Alluvian cruisers, with their advanced stealth technology, approached the station from the opposite direction. The battle was swift and decisive. The patrol ships were disabled before they could raise an alarm. The station's defenses, formidable, but designed to repel frontal assaults, were bypassed by the Alluvian vessels, which attached specialized EMP devices directly to the shield generators. Within 20 minutes, the coalition forces had captured the station intact, along with its massive stockpile of weapons, supplies, and, most valuable of all, 12 Varelian data cores. After securing the station, John met with the coalition leaders in the captured command center. Krell represented the Tralaxians, while Commander Zara spoke for the Zentari and Elder Thax for the Alluvians. A significant victory, Elder Thax said, his translucent skin reflecting the blue light of the holographic display. This station supplied Varelian forces across 3 sectors. Krell nodded, his pale eyes blinking slowly. More important are data cores, will contain fleet movements, communication codes. Dr. Wright, who had become an expert in Varelian technology, was already working on extracting information from the cores. He looked up from his console with excitement. "I've found something big," he said. "These contain detailed maps of the entire empire, including the throne world itself." John felt a surge of hope. Until now, the location of the Varelian homeworld had remained a mystery. Finding it opened new possibilities. "There's more," Dr. Wright continued. "According to these records, the Varelian fleet is badly stretched. The Emperor has called ships back from outlying regions to defend core worlds against our attacks." Commander Zara, her scaly skin shifting colors with her emotions, leaned forward. "This confirms what our scouts have reported. Many subject worlds now have minimal Varelian presence. Over the next 2 days, the coalition forces transferred the captured supplies to their ships and downloaded all data from the station. Before leaving, they planted evidence suggesting the raid had been conducted by a rival faction within the Varelian Empire, adding to the paranoia and distrust that was spreading among Imperial leadership. Back at their hidden base, established in an asteroid field near the borders of former Zentari space, John presented their findings to Admiral Susan, who commanded the growing coalition fleet. "The Varelian Empire is beginning to crumble," John explained, showing holographic maps of recent coalition victories. "They never faced a real challenge before. Their control was based on fear and intimidation rather than loyalty." Susan studied the data. "Their Emperor has recalled ships to defend their core systems. That leaves 23 subject worlds with minimal occupation forces. Worlds we can liberate," John said. "Each species that joins us brings new technologies, new approaches to fighting." The coalition had grown from 3 liberated species to 7, with more reaching out through secret channels every month. Each brought unique advantages: the Tralaxians with their technical expertise, the Zentari with their superior navigational skills, the Alluvians with their stealth technology, and others with their own contributions. 3 months later, John found himself in a position he would never have imagined when the Varelians first entered Earth's solar system demanding tribute. He stood before the Galactic Council, a previously neutral body that had turned a blind eye to Varelian expansion for centuries. "The Coalition of Free Worlds seeks recognition," John stated to the assembled representatives of 12 major galactic powers. "We have liberated 38 worlds from Varelian control and established a mutual defense pact based on equality and respect." The Council had ignored the Varelian Empire's conquest for too long, believing themselves safe in their neutrality. But the Coalition's success had forced them to reconsider. After hours of debate, the Council formally recognized the Coalition and agreed to impose sanctions on the Varelian Empire. While they refused to provide military support, this diplomatic victory gave the Coalition legitimacy in the eyes of the galaxy. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the final confrontation arrived. The Coalition fleet, now numbering over 200 ships from 15 different species, approached the Varelian throne world. The once mighty Imperial fleet made its last stand, still powerful but no longer invincible. As the Liberty led the attack, John reflected on how far they had come. What began as an attempt to defend one world had grown into a movement that was reshaping the galaxy. The battle was fierce, but the outcome never in doubt. The coalition forces, using tactics developed by Admiral Susan and technologies shared by all member species, systematically dismantled the Imperial defenses. 3 days later, John walked through the Imperial Palace, now secured by coalition forces. In the throne room, he faced the Virelian Emperor, once the most feared being in the galaxy, now a prisoner. "1 year ago you demanded tribute from Earth," John said quietly. "Today I present you with terms: complete dismantling of your empire, reparations to all subjugated worlds, and integration into a new galactic federation based on mutual respect and trade." The Emperor had no choice but to accept. 5 years later, John stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, the headquarters of the new Galactic Federation. Representatives from 43 worlds worked together here, building something unprecedented, a true interstellar community of equals. A young aide approached. "Ambassador Carter, the new species delegation has arrived. They're ready for first contact protocols." John smiled. How different this would be from his own first contact experience. "Tell them I'm on my way," he said. "And prepare the welcome gifts, not tribute demands."